3rd, 2022.
I'm sorry, Mary, if you could give us just, oh, there we are. We're on. I don't know if the mics are on it.
The mics.
Yeah, they aren't on.
In the back, are the mics on?
Test, 1, 2, test. We tested them too this afternoon. I saw staff in here testing them. Test.
Yeah, I think we're having some technical difficulties. 1 second.
Test, 1, 2, test. There we go. Yep. Okay, we're ready for you, Mayor.
Okay, good evening. We call to order the Paramount City Council May 3rd, 2022 to order. Pledge allegiance will be conducted by Jesus Urrato of the Paramount High School JROTC. Please stand.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. It is an honor to be here today. My name is Cadet Major Hurtado from the Paramount High School Battalion. I would now like to ask the audience to place their right hand over their heart. You will now recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Incubation will be conducted by Bu Stevens from Chapel of Change. Can you please come up? Thank you.
It's an honor to pray here. I'm a resident for 28 years, and let us pray. Father, we just thank you for this day. We thank you for your goodness. We thank you for your love. We thank you for all that you do for us. We thank you when we call on you, you forgive us of our sins. Lord, and we just pray, Father, that you would give us wisdom. The Bible says, if anyone lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives generously to all without finding fault. We pray for wisdom for the council members as they lead our city and all the decisions makings that they're going through, Father. We pray for the new mayor, Father. We pray for the vice mayor and the council members. We pray your presence be upon them, Lord. And we just thank you that we live in a country where we could pray and we could seek your face. And we know when we seek your face, you will move in our lives, Father. We thank you for all that you do. We can pray you continue to bless the city of Paramount with your presence. Bless it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you. May we have roll call of council members, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Guillen.
Here.
Councilmember Lemons.
Here.
Councilmember Olmos.
I'm here.
Vice Mayor Aguayo.
Here.
Mayor Cuellar Stallings.
Here. Now, I would like my colleagues to join me. We have several presentations. Thank you. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Paramount. Tonight, we recognize some special people in our community. First, we would like to Cadet Major Jesus, please join us. Jesus is with the Paramount High School ROTC. He led us in the Pledge of Allegiance for the National Military Appreciation Month. Would you like to take a photo with us, sir? Okay. Would Alfredo Castro please come up? Hi, Alfredo. How are you, mijo? Good to see you. I am very pleased to give my first Mayor's Award of Excellence to Alfredo. He represents the very best of our younger generation in Paramount. This 18-year-old Paramount High School graduate has been a local business owner since he was a freshman. That's when he started AC 15 for quinceañeras, sweet 16s, weddings, and other occasions. Alfredo has performed at city events like the tree lighting and at Paramount football games. His business helps local families in need with discounts and additional services. With his thriving social media platform, he partnered with small business in town during the pandemic to help them stay open. He has 18,000 followers on Instagram and 30,000 on TikTok. He says that he is thankful and blessed to be a Paramount influencer and a resident. We're glad he's here and happy to give him this award. Can you say a few words, please, Alfredo?
Hello. Hi. Well, to start off, I want to thank Mayor. Thank you for having me. My parents for being there for me 24/7, who are here today, and my sister, and the whole Paramount community for having me and letting me get to this where I am today. It wasn't easy, but I always tell myself, el que quiere puede, and just go for it. So thank you again.
You're very welcome. I used to drive by his driveway and see him teaching quinceañera dancing, but he's a good dancer himself. For our next presentation, will Lieutenant Camacho and Motor Deputy Greg Emerson and the SAO team please join us? May 15th is National Peace Officers Memorial Day, which takes place during the National Police Week. This honors officers who have died in the line of duty. Tonight we remember former Paramount Deputy Thomas J. Albanese, who lost his life in a car accident in Lakewood last year after attempting to conduct a traffic stop. He had served in our city from 2018 to 2020. The deputy will be recognized during the annual Candlelight Vigil in Washington, D.C. this month. His name will also be added to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in the Capitol. Deputy Emerson was a mentor to Deputy Albanese and will attend these events. Gentlemen, would you like to say a few words and take a photo after?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, the residents and the fellow city council members, for this opportunity. Some of you might not remember me. I've been around for about 24 years, Peggy, John. So it's been a great 24 years that I've been able to help out and serve in the community of Paramount. And I just really appreciate that you're taking the time out of your schedule to recognize Thomas Albanese. And next week we will travel to Washington, D.C. and participate in the National Police Memorial. And for sure, his wife will be there and his family. And I'll be sure to share this with her. She's been busy. She's up in Sacramento right now for the California State Memorial, so she's a very busy woman at this time. But I will take this to her and express, the gratitude from the city of Paramount. Tom spent quite some time in the city of Paramount and made quite the impression in the short time he was here. So he's a great man. He's going to be missed. But thank you again for honoring him.
Now he's got a position. Tall, man. Is he taller than you? Yeah. Okay, yeah, come on down. And then just position yourself in between here someplace. Just tell me you can see everybody. Good? You probably are what? How do you want to do this? Come on, Chris. No. Perfect. Yeah. How's that, Chris? That work? You see everybody?
Hey, now please welcome some from the Paramount High School JROTC. And Adam Castillo, can you please join us? Yes, all of you, please.
Okay, so two come over here. And then two over here.
Adam? Thank you, sir. As mentioned, May is National Military Appreciation Month. This is close to my heart since my husband served in the Army during the Vietnam conflict. She couldn't be with us tonight, but I'd like to mention Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Samira Scott. Samira is also with the Paramount JROTC. She is the first female from Paramount High School to be accepted to the West Point Military Academy. That is very exciting, and we congratulate her and her family. Mr. Castillo is with the Veteran Peer Access Network. This group is made up of veterans who help other veterans connect with support services. RMI Security, a company in town, is providing them with office space to aid local vets. In Paramount, we honor our military heroes with our beautiful Veterans Memorial Plaza, and with that recognition banners along the Boulevard of Heroes on Paramount Boulevard. And also at our annual Veterans Celebration, which will be on November 12th. Would you like to say a few words, sir?
Well, I wasn't really prepared to say any words, but I'd like to say thank you to the city of Paramount for all that you do in supporting veterans. As a retired Master Sergeant from the United States Marine Corps, there's veterans are out there and they need assistance in transitioning. It doesn't matter if you transitioned after 1 year, after 2 years, or after 20 years, or after 30 years. we all experience challenges, and I've been living here for approximately 12 and a half years in this area, and I can tell you I appreciate all the support that I've got here. And both my daughters graduated from Paramount High School, and I can tell you that this city right here, 'cause I don't live in Paramount, but I live in Hollydale, and it's close enough. Yeah, so I benefit from all the services, and I can appreciate that, and I can appreciate I see some familiar faces. I know Victor, he's sitting in the crowd over there, but I've seen him from U.S. Vets. We all it all comes together, and just veterans helping veterans. We speak the same language. The family members out there, that have those shared experiences. It really does make a difference, and it really does help. So, I just really I appreciate this, and I'm accepting this award on behalf of all the veterans in the Veteran Peer Access Network and those family members that assist with this process and removing barriers and advocating for those veterans that need the assistance. Thank you.
Okay. Now I'd like to have Bill Cinco, Executive Director of the Community Family Guidance Center, join us. Thank you, sir. May is National Mental Health Awareness Month. This year's message is Together in Mental Health. The goal is to raise awareness by educating the public about these issues. Community Family Guidance Center offers services to our city's young people. Bill, would you like to say a few words, please?
We are a nonprofit children's mental health agency that's been serving Paramount for 45 years now, and the children of Paramount. And it's been a busy year because of the pandemic. So pray for our kids. They need it, and we're here to help. So if you need us, contact us. You can get a hold of us through the Parks and Rec here. They have our number, and we will help.
I just want to apologize if I mispronounced your name. The next proclamation will be for a National Senior Health and Fitness Day. Please welcome Pat and Ken Winwinky. These are my special friends. I think they're all of us special friends. This special day is on May 25th. It promotes the importance of regular physical activity for older folks. This is the message we offer all year to our senior center. Pat and Ken lead our senior walking club. Would you like to say a few words, Ken? Or Pat?
I just can't say enough about our wonderful seniors here in Paramount. We would love to have all of you join us on Tuesdays from 9 to 10 at Paramount Park. We're out there for an hour, and look for us on Facebook and Instagram. We have the most beautiful photos out there. We're just having a ball. Send your relatives, send your friends. Ken and I can take some more. We're certified coaches for the our Roadrunners Club of America, and I'm a certified coach for 261 Fearless. And we just can't say enough about our seniors. We love them. We were with them this morning. We had a ball. We gave them all red roses because we love them.
Would Jeremy Echnaz from Los Cerritos YMCA please come up? May is also National Water Safety Month. Paramount has an active aquatics program that stresses safety. The YMCA is our partner in this at the Paramount Park pools. The swim season is just around the corner. So Jeremy, would you like to say a few words, sir? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to say thank you to the City of Paramount. We work with a lot of organizations, a lot of cities, and really Paramount goes out of their way to make sure that their services for the community members. We feel blessed to be partners in this with you, and we are really excited to see the pool open back up. I know that there's a grand opening coming. I have seen the slide. I almost went down the other day. But we're excited, and please come out this summer, get into swim lessons, come out for rec swim, and have a great summer with us. We hope to have a great summer with all of you, so thank you.
Now we are recognizing National Building Safety Month, which thanks those who make sure our buildings are secure. The theme this year is Safety for All, Codes in Action. We have an excellent building and safety section in our planning department. In 2021, they issued 1,137 building permits and performed 3,669 inspections. Our inspectors do important work. They keep Paramount's families safe by making sure construction contractors follow the law. We thank them for their professionalism and care, and we will send them a proclamation. Thank you. Let's honor them. This month of May also features National Public Works Week from May 15th through May 21st. Adrienne. The theme is ready and resilient. Public works professionals are always ready to serve their communities in meeting many challenges. Paramount Public Works does an outstanding job by maintaining our city. Our city is in great shape due to their hard work, and we want to thank them. We will send them a proclamation to the Department of Public Works. Let's give them a good hand. Okay, for our last presentation, we're saying farewell to a long-time city employee. Would Margarita Gutierrez please come up? I love coming and paying my water bill and seeing Margarita. She was always so kind. You're always kind. Anyway, that comes from my heart. Margarita was hired in 2005 as an office aide and was quickly promoted to finance supervisor later that year. She has been leading our City Hall front counter services ever since and is well known to the members of the community who conduct business there, like me. She has also been very helpful with Spanish translation skills. We will miss her, but we wish her the best in her retirement. Would you like to say a few words, Margarita? No? Thank you. Okay. And we have this beautiful. Well, that ends our public presentations. I would like to thank everyone who was here tonight. You make Paramount a great place to live, work, and play. We love Paramount. Someone took my. Maybe they went with users. Thank you. Okay, we'll continue. City Council public comments, updates. John?
We do not have any public comment updates, Madam Mayor, from the previous meeting.
Okay, thank you, sir. How about public comments?
We
sir?
do. We have two. We have one for item number 17 from Ms. Rebecca Guillen. Ms. Guillen, we'll go ahead and call you up when that item is heard. And then we do have one, Madam Mayor, another one for general public comments. And that's what we'll go to right now. And that's from Ms. Yesenia Cuarenta, and she wants to comment about access to recreation for residents. Ms. Cuarenta?
Ms. Cuarenta, can you press the button, please? Thank you.
Thank you. So my name is Yesenia. I'm one of the candidates for Paramount City Council. I'm also a school board member. And I've been out there on the streets, and I'm here to ask Mr. Moreno and his amazing staff, please do more for the young residents in the community. I had a resident tell me that some of the sports recreations we offer are out of their price range. So I'm hoping that Mr. Moreno, instead of policing me and the flyers that I'm handing out, you should be out there looking out for our young residents. If you'd like to meet with me, you have my email. Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
just as a point of interest, it's important for the public to know, in case you don't already, if you can't afford any of Paramount sports programs, we do have scholarships, free sports and recreation programs for anybody who can't afford it.
Is that the only public comment? we
Yes,
have?
Madam Mayor.
Okay, we will continue. May I have approval for the consent calendar, please?
So moved, Lemons. Second, Aguayo.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Guillen,
Yes.
Councilmember Lemons,
Yes.
Councilmember Olmos,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Aguayo,
Yes.
Mayor Quer Stallings.
Yes. We have new business. An oral report from the Paramount Youth Commission presentation.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. We do have our monthly report from the Paramount Youth Commission, and this month we have Mr. Archie Aguirre and Mr. Javier Zaragoza from our Paramount Youth Commission. Please come on up. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Archie Aguirre, and this is Javier Zaragoza. We are both here on behalf of the Paramount Youth Commission. I am 17, a senior at Paramount High School, and will be majoring in computer engineering at UC Riverside. This year was my first year on the commission, and I primarily joined in order to give back to the community that I was born and raised in. I suppose I also joined to understand the way things work behind the scenes. As a resident and minor, I feel like there is so much that is out of my hands, and I simply have to accept changes that are made without my understanding. Being in the Youth Commission has allowed me to not only obtain a new perspective on the way things work, but also be a part of that change towards a better future for our city. I want to be completely honest and say that I have not been able to do much as a commissioner due to personal and unprecedented reasons that came up. However, it is not to say that this experience is not something that I won't value for the years to come. I have gained an understanding on politics, economics, even recreation and public services, and how all those things go hand in hand. And while sitting through an hour-long presentation may not sound like the best way to spend a Monday evening, it has educated me on topics that affect my life, topics that everyone should know and understand. I've always heard the phrase, every voice counts, but feeling like there is truth behind that statement is a bit tougher to come to terms with. Today I can stand up here and say that I truly believe that every voice does matter, including mine. Finally, it may sound irrational, but I used to have this fear, or better yet, intimidation, when it came to the people in charge. It was a mixture of admiration and also feeling like I could not speak without being spoken to. I know that now that regardless of status or title, we are all people, and everyone has the right and opportunity to be the change in this wonderful community.
Wow. That's very
Thank you.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Yes.
Thank you, both. Okay, we'll go on to public hearing for adoption of consolidated plan for the fiscal year 2022 to 2026. May we have a report, John?
Absolutely, Madam Mayor. As you know, we receive funds annually from the federal government through HUD, and that's the Housing and Urban Development Department. The funds are through a very established program called the Community Development Block Grant Program, or Cdbg, and we also receive through HUD other monies called Home Investment Partnership Funds. We use these funds for a variety of operations and programs, everything from graffiti removal to code enforcement to our very successful home improvement program. And in order to keep receiving these funds, HUD requires us to put together a 5-year consolidated plan, a 1-year action plan, and also a report that's called an analysis of impediments to fair housing. So all of this will be explained to you by a tag team report tonight by first our Assistant City Manager, Mr. Andrew Villalpando, and our HUD consultant, Ms. Esther Luis. Andrew?
Thank you, John. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. Yes, this is a condition as part of these federal fundings, which are very important federal funds. Most cities in the United States receive some sort of HUD funding through the Cdbg program, are required to submit these reports. The presentation you'll be receiving tonight, I'll go into a little bit of detail about what's significant about this particular report, being the Consolidated Plan. It's a plan that we only do every 5 years, and then action plans are done on an annual basis. But as I mentioned, we'll talk about each of the 3 plans this evening very briefly, and I will be assisted by our consultant, who is the expert in all CDBG grant funding, Esther Lewis, and she is from MDG Associates. But first, I just want to talk a little bit about some terms and funding laws as they pertain. This will be very helpful as we go through this presentation to better understand what we're doing here. So as John described, you hear the term CDBG a lot. That references the Community Development Block Grant. This is essentially funding, federal funding, that's primarily used for things like affordable housing, public infrastructure, facilities, economic development. All of these activities that we present to you as a proposal tonight have been thoroughly reviewed and also have gone to the public for public input. But most importantly, all of these things, they have a goal, an objective of trying to benefit lower to moderate income communities so that we don't regress into a slum or a blighted area. Another funding program is what we call the Home Investment Partnership Program. These funds are reserved exclusively for expanding the supply of affordable housing. And all of this is under the umbrella from a law that was adopted in 1968 by the federal government, the Fair Housing Act, which prohibits discrimination in housing based off of race, color, sex, or familiar status, national origin, or disability. Here are the 3 different plans that we're going to discuss very briefly this evening. CDBG and home funding requires that we submit these plans in order to receive this funding. As I mentioned, the 5-year consolidated plan, this is more of the visionary plan required for renewal every 5 years. As you can see here, it was last renewed in our city in 2017, so it's up for renewal. This plan analyzes housing, community, and economic development needs and establishes a multi-year priority approach. The annual action plan, this is more of the deliverables. These are the action items that we are carrying out every year. This plan is brought to you every single year. And so we're just kind of combining it all into one presentation this evening. This plan establishes very tangible projects and desired outcomes each year. And then the analysis of impediments to fair housing choice. This is more of a performance review of all of these plans together, but very, very specific on fair housing issues, which also bleeds into developing goals affirmatively for fair housing. So with that, I'm going to bring up Esther. The next 3 slides are going to dive just a little bit of detail into each plan. This first slide will go into the 5-year consolidated plan. And Esther, take it away.
Thank you, Andrew. Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. I'll just briefly go over, as Andrew mentioned, the 3 different plans that we're presenting tonight for approval. The consolidated plan outlines 4 community priorities to be addressed over the next 5 years. They're meant to be broad and encompassing so that the city has the flexibility over the next 5 years in case there's any changes that need to be made by way of amendments. Based on community input and available data collected, the following priorities needed are established as part of this next cycle from 2022 through 2026 comp plan. So the first one being improving neighborhood services, public facilities, and infrastructure. The second, promoting economic opportunities. The third, preserving the supply of affordable housing. And lastly, but not least, providing public services to low-income residents, those with special needs, and the homeless. Also, as mentioned, each year, by way of the annual action plan, we present specific projects which address the priority needs identified in the comp plan and national objectives as identified by HUD. I do want to mention this evening that although we are presenting the estimated allocations for the next fiscal year, 2022-2023, we have not yet received the final allocations. It's estimated that they will be released by HUD on or about May 13th, which is later this week. And for reasons that we've identified in the draft action plan, the ability to go ahead and proceed with the public review and presentation this evening, we will adjust the budgets and the amounts allocated to the specific projects proportionally, as we've done in the past. So this is not unique to this next cycle. The specific CDBG funding recommendations for this upcoming 2022-2023 include $139,498 for CDBG administration, $30,000 for fair housing, $116,623 for graffiti removal, and $250,000 for residential code enforcement, as well as $150,000 for commercial code enforcement. The last CDBG project or activity that's being funded at $105,371 is for or designated for commercial rehab. We've also factored in about $8,000 that we have received in program income during this current fiscal year and programmed that into this next cycle. So these amounts do include that program income. Now looking towards the home program, we have allocated $30,000 for home administration, $233,228 for the very popular home improvement program, and set aside $45,045 for Chodo set aside. The total budget estimated currently for home is $308,303. So moving on to the analysis of impediments to fair housing choice. It is HUD's duty to firmly further fair housing, results in meaningful actions that address disparities in housing and access to opportunities, transform areas of poverty, and comply with civil rights and fair housing laws. As an entitlement community, Paramount receives federal funding directly from HUD. As such, the city of Paramount is also obligated to affirmatively further fair housing. The goals established in the AI, also known as the analysis of impediments, they're based on analysis of the city's resident and stakeholder surveys, the 2013-2017 American Community Survey, 5-year estimates, HUD's affirmatively further fair housing, data and mapping tool, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and California Environmental Protection Agency, as well as consultation with the Fair Housing Foundation. The 5 goals established in the AR are: 1, program marketing. To evaluate the city's promotion of programs to our low-income residents, staff will maintain documentation showing that it marketed programs in areas of high poverty and conducted such marketing in a way that clearly communicated the program to the residents in those areas. 2nd, program or promote fair housing education for tenants and homebuyer programs. To evaluate city's training efforts for tenants and homebuyers on these programs, staff will maintain records of number of trainings conducted and training participants. 3, promote fair housing education for landlord and realtors. Again, to evaluate city's training efforts for landlords and realtors on these programs, staff will also maintain records of number of trainings conducted and training participants. 4th, maintain fair housing resources on the website. The city's access to program resources on its website will be reviewed and on an annual basis. And lastly, maintain housing and community development resource list. So it is the city's interest to maintain, review, and update the list on an annual basis. So that concludes the summary for each of these plans, and I'll turn it back over to Andrew.
Thanks, Esther. You can hang out right there just in case the city council has questions. So as I wrap up, I'll just briefly speak about there's a very important critical aspect to all of these plans, and it was obtaining as much input as we could from the community. Here's just an overview of the efforts we've conducted in our outreach since last year. Since last year, we've conducted 2 community meetings. We public noticed these meetings, informing all of the community of their opportunity to engage in this process. That public notice was published in the Press Telegram on October 15th, 2021. We also conducted a resident survey where we had staff and actual physically out in booths at city events. The survey was conducted from October 29th, 21 through January 14th, 2022. Over 300 residents responded to the survey, which was provided online, as well as 10 completed paper surveys. Individual interviews were also held as a follow-up. And then, of course, this evening, which brings us here tonight, is the public hearing. The notice for this public hearing was published on April 1st of this year. To date, the city has not received any comments from the public. Copies of all the drafts are available online. And with that, it's recommended that the City Council adopt a resolution approving the 22 to 26 5-year consolidated plan, the FY23 annual action plan, and the 2022 analysis of impediments to the fair housing choice as an application to HUD for the Cdbg and home funding. Esther and I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Madam Mayor, I just have one educational question
Yes.
for myself. So this is federal funding. So do we know, how do they come up with the estimates to give each city? I mean, such housing is such it's a huge topic all over the place. How do they come up to determine what the cities receive?
So the estimates actually are based on the current level funding. So we're basically estimating level funding for next year. But in terms of the final allocation, that's based on several factors. One being just the demographics, population of the city, and other criteria that housing information that goes into some sort of like analysis. And then depending on how many participating entitlements, then that's how the distribution is given out to each entitlement.
So has this ever increased, decreased this amount?
As we talked about in the presentation, I think a big part of it has to do with not the census, but the American Community Survey.
Okay.
The last one was updated in 2017.
Okay.
We're still receiving information from the previous census, so there may be some adjustments based on that.
Okay.
So we'll see kind of moving forward. I think although this is a 5-year visionary plan, what's fortunate about this is we come back every year with adjusted numbers for an actual action
Okay.
plan. So as
That makes
numbers
sense.
change, we can come back next year.
Okay. Thank you, Andrew.
Anyone else have any questions? So, do we have any comments for those in favor?
There have been no comments submitted in favor, Madam Mayor,
Those opposed?
and none opposed either.
I move we close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Yeah, roll call, please.
Councilmember Guillen,
Yes.
Councilmember Lemons,
Yes.
Councilmember Olmos,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Aguayo,
Yes.
Mayor Claire Stallings.
Yes. So we have a motion in order to adopt the consultation plan for fiscal year 2020, 22 to 2026.
I think, Madam Mayor, that's what we just did.
No, that was to
That was
close
to
the
close the
public
public
hearing,
hearing.
Madam.
To
to
Part
close the
B?
public hearing.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Guillen,
Yes.
Councilmember Lemons,
Yes.
Councilmember Olmos,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Aguayo,
Yes.
Mayor Claire Stallings.
Yes. Now we have a motion for the order to the adoption.
That was it.
That was it?
That was the adoption, Madam
Okay,
Mayor.
thank you. We'll move on. Next, we have a receive and file report. John, may we have a staff report?
Yes, ma'am. Amazingly, our home improvement program has been around for about 40 years, since the early 1980s. The main point of the program is to help low-income homeowners here in Paramount revitalize the front of their homes, which thereby uplifts the general aesthetics of our neighborhoods. We also include the cost of other vital components in the home, like smoke detectors, electrical wiring, heating and cooling. Up until this point, our home improvement program has been limited to single-family homes in our neighborhoods. We like to now expand this to include mobile homes. So with that, here's John Carver to tell you about which types of mobile homes would qualify and the percentages of coverage for the program and other details. John?
Thank you, John. Madam Mayor and council members, I've got a presentation to go through. So this item is a request to expand the home improvement program to allow for the remodel of mobile homes. Currently, as John mentioned, the program is only offered to owner-occupied single-family homes. The program began in the 1980s, and numerous homes have been improved over the years. The program is funded with federal home funds. Seniors and very low-income single-family homeowners can receive a grant for 90% of the cost of the remodel, up to $24,300. Low-income households can receive a grant for 80% of the cost of the remodel, up to $21,600. The grant percentages and amounts would be the same for for mobile home owners. The applicant would need to be the owner of the mobile home and live in the mobile home. The program would be limited to mobile homes. Trailers with a DMV registration would not be eligible. The picture on the left is an example of a trailer that would not qualify for the program. The picture on the right is an example of a mobile home in a mobile home park that would qualify. The city does not have jurisdiction over construction-related permitting or inspecting of mobile homes and mobile home parks. Permitting and inspecting is done through the state of California through the Housing and Community Development Department. HCD has its own fee schedule and inspection policies. If approved, we will do outreach in mobile home parks through neighborhood watch meetings, on social media, and on the city's website. 4 projects have been budgeted for this fiscal year, with an additional 4 projects in next year's proposed budget. These projects are in addition to 4 single-family remodel projects that are budgeted. We're recommending that you receive and file the report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Anyone have any questions?
I have a question, Madam Mayor. First of all, I'm thrilled to see the program. Long time coming, been requested for a lot of years to help out in the mobile home parks. I understand that we don't have jurisdiction, but my question would be, it's our funds. Do we have no say-so or no input over quality control or project approval? Do we play any role at all, or are we totally dependent upon the state?
We're totally dependent on the state for doing issuing permits and doing inspections. We do have our consultant that does the single-family homeowner program, remodel program. He would also be doing this, so he will monitor these projects as they proceed, and if there are any difficulties that arise, he would intervene at that point.
Perfect. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, this is a great program. I've had several residents approach me about remodeling their mobile homes. I have one quick question, John. Why the trailers that have a California Department of Motor Vehicles registration are not eligible? Can you clarify that, please?
Sure. Those are mobile vehicles. They generally do have the wheels still on them, so they can be moved. We want to focus on a project that will have a longer-term impact on a neighborhood in a mobile home park.
Thank you, sir, for that clarification. So this is a receive and file, John? So we'll go on to the next item. Discussion and approval for distribution of the City of Paramount's application.
Yes,
May we have a staff report?
There was plenty of excitement from completion. Yep, there we go. There was plenty of excitement from the completion of the arrangement with our partners at CMFA to bring a middle-income housing program to Paramount. Added to that excitement was the $125,000 donation that CMFA made to local nonprofit groups, and CMFA at the time asked us to designate the recipients of this donation, to which the council did so a couple of months ago. CMFA also made another $125,000 donation for a total of $250,000. This $125,000 was to the city to use however we like. We have some ideas on how to allocate that money, so we're presenting them to you tonight. And I'll now turn it over to our Community Services Director, Dave Johnson, who will walk you through that. Dave?
Thank you, John. Mayor and council members, as John referenced, the council did give us direction back in January of how to allocate the CMFA bond issuance funds to the nonprofits. That total amount was $125,000. The direction was that 50% of that would go to Pathways, 25% to Stu Casa, and then 25% to Community Family Guidance Center. Now, what happened, unfortunately, in the actual escrow disbursement, instead of following those instructions, they actually split it 3 ways. So they all received approximately $41,000 and change. This will become important later in one of our recommendations. So the issuance to the city that John also referenced, we did also receive $125,000. And so tonight we need to discuss how to allocate that into the current budget. And then we must be able to expend all of this before the end of the fiscal year. So the chart, and I do need a reference here on this chart. In your report, I did list the 5 groups that would receive $12,000 correctly, but in the chart in your report, it was erroneously showed as Community Family Guidance Center. It should be Little House, so that is corrected on this chart. So the first one is Pathways Hospice. We are recommending $20,000 to correct the error that occurred in the initial disbursement to them. This would get them to the $60,000+ that was originally promised them. The 5 in yellow are the 5 service organizations in town that provide services in town that received nothing from that first allocation. We're recommending that each of those receive $12,000. And you can see the 5 groups there. The 7th one, Paramount Arts in the Community Youth Art Packet. So following the guidance of the City Council, you were looking for us to find ways to create little artists in town, so to approach our young students and residents, to encourage them to engage in the arts. We would then like to purchase a bunch of art packets, little kits that will get them started on getting engaged in the arts, and then also gift cards that would be for our older students, like at the high school, that they could go out and buy art supplies for themselves. And then the last one would be our eco-friendly recycling trash can units. There's these units, they're called Big Bellies. They're actually solar powered. There's a trash compactor unit. There's a recycling component to these Big Belly trash cans. We would like to start introducing those into city parks. This will get us started in that effort, and we'd probably start at Paramount Park to bring out those new Big Belly trash cans. They're actually really interesting too, because they actually will communicate with our public works staff and let them know when the trash can's full, and they'll let them know when they know if something's malfunctioning on the trash can, which is really nice. Our recommended action is to either approve or modify the proposed disbursements of these funds. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anyone have any questions?
I do, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
So Dave, this is in addition to, because the Children's Clinic and Children's Dental Health Clinic are already in our budget, correct, that receive funds?
That would be correct. This would be additional funds this year.
This year. So I know we talked about this, there was a discussion. Is there any reason why we didn't offer our groups like Latinas Art Foundation and all that extra money instead of going this way? I know we've had this discussion, I just don't remember what it ended with.
These organizations that we're presenting here provide actual medical health services to our community. Groups like Latina Arts provide programs.
Okay.
So they can get funded from the city through the budget allocation to operate programs.
Correct.
We also provide in sometimes, if I'm not mistaken, Dave, in-kind services like access to facilities
and all that,
stage
right?
Time at our events, things like that.
Right. So we decided to go with the angle of health and what's the other word used? Health and
mental health services, physical health services, things that a organization like Latina Arts does not provide.
Okay.
Anyone else have
I don't
any
have
comment?
a question, just a comment. I just Googled your Big Belly trash cans because I was curious, what are they going to look like? They look a lot like something that would dispense something instead of take something.
That we would what?
They look like something that would dispense something. They almost look like a Coke dispenser, like a vending machine, instead of like a trash can.
yes,
We may have to do some education, or people are going to be putting quarters in it.
Well, yeah. Well, you do need to take your Coke can and put it in the recycling side.
Yeah.
You can put graphics around them, and so we'll be able to put marketing and identify
good.
how they're used.
Yeah.
Any other questions? May I have a motion?
So move, Lemons.
Second, Aguayo.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Guillen?
Yes.
Councilmember Lemons?
Yes.
Councilmember Olmos?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Aguayo?
Yes.
Mayor Quer Stallings?
Yes. We'll move on next to the approval revisions to the community garden rules and guidelines.
Yes, Madam Mayor. A couple of years ago, the City Council gave staff clear direction to create more gardening opportunities for our residents. So far, we've refined our municipal code that deals with gardening on private properties. We have a new community garden and orchard that's in the works for Dills Park. And last year, we presented an item to you that would bring about changes to our rules in order to provide additional gardening opportunities at our one community garden on Orange and Cortland. These changes have had success, and we'd like to build on this success to bring about even more opportunities. So with that, I'll turn it over to our Community Services Director, Dave Johnson, to tell you what we are proposing. And just a reminder, Madam Mayor, we do have a speaker's card on this item.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Mayor and council members. So we do have the one primary community garden. It's at Orange and Cortland. It does consist of 56 separate garden plots. They are leased at $15 per year. Now, our residents can currently renew their lease for those garden plots every year unless they voluntarily choose to let go of the plot or relinquish the plot. They fail to follow our guidelines for use of the garden space. They fail to pay their annual lease, or for various reasons are unable to garden due to age or disability. We do have a waiting list for these gardens, so I think our waiting list is currently around 20, 21, something like that. And you see on the right, that is our new renovation to the garden. They look really good. There's a lot more clear delineation, and it's exciting to see how the garden has changed. So back in 2013, we did address some rule changes to the gardens because of what we saw going on. And it's still somewhat of an ongoing problem. The gardens are meant to be gardened year-round. So we need to have, or we've seen a lack of continuous gardening. We have in the past seen non-edibles being grown, plants that don't produce a fruit or vegetable. We've seen commercial gardening going on where they're planting pots in the ground and pulling those pots out once the plant reaches certain maturity, and then they're taking them someplace to sell them, I suppose. You're not allowed to do that. They have to go fully in the ground, and they have to be not in a pot or used for commercial gardening. We have issues, trees are not allowed in the garden. We have issues sometimes with corn, sugarcane, cactus, where they grow to such a height that they're actually shading the fellow gardener's space. So we've had to deal with those issues. We've had a lot of issues with debris, personal items of tools and personal equipment being left on the sites. And again, they're there to go to garden, and then they need to take their stuff with them. We also had a lot of problems, and this was partially our fault because the garden space got a little out of control, but there was planting outside of the boundaries, in some cases a little excessively outside the boundaries, and you saw a lot of cases an overplanting of cactus. Now you see a lot of these issues on those photos on the right. Now, when we addressed the issue of cactus, we had some plots that were entirely cactus, and I know that is obviously an edible plant, but in those rules that we conducted or imposed in 2013, they were required to reduce their cactus planting to a quarter of their garden space and situate them in such a way that it did very little shading to their adjacent garden. Over time, since 2013, we've had various gardeners that have violated our rules. We've had gardeners that have come up as no longer Paramount residents, or they've handed off to a family member, which is not allowed. And so we've had, over time, we've had about 15 gardens since 2013. We've had them replaced with new gardeners because those gardeners weren't following our rules. But that list has grown again. That wait list has grown to again about 20 members. At your April 2021 meeting, you did provide us direction to, at the Orange Cortland Garden, to limit the garden leases to one plot. So what they could do previously was, and everyone did this, they would lease 2 garden plots, and so we only had 28 gardeners total gardening 56 plots. So again, at your direction, we were going to phase this in. So in January 2022, we turned over to, we consulted with the gardeners, let them know that this was occurring. And on the west side of Orange Cortland, those were the first gardeners that were reduced down to 1 plot. So this, in effect, opened up 14 new plots for us. We'll see the next 14 open up in January of 2023. Overall, though, we did have some gardeners who did voluntarily release their gardens down to 1 plot. So we're going to, of the 2021 people that are on the wait list right now, we're going to fill, I think, 20 of them. and get new gardeners in those plots. So our wait list should be down to about 1 or 2 people. And then, as I mentioned previously, you can see photos again on the right. The garden did go through a renovation this year, thanks to our Public Works Department and team. They've been able to renovate that garden. You see clear delineated garden spaces now, new marked plots. So it's very easy now to tell where your garden space is. This was essential to this program to make sure that when we divided these lots into single plots, that it was very identifiable for them. There is now a gravel pathway between the garden plots and down the center, which used to be dirt. And then we are working with LA Compost. We're having installed on the garden composting bins that the gardeners will be able to use that compost, obviously use their organic material to contribute to the compost, and then LA Compost will be training the gardeners on how to actually appropriately do that. Though we do have some proposed garden changes that we think are necessary since 2013. This first one might be a little more, a little controversial because again, cactus is a edible plant. What we're hoping to do is grandfather in those that have existing leases that do have cactus. We would like to, though, prohibit cactus in any new leases. Again, the cactus basically functions as a tree because they can get very tall and they do provide a shading issue. We do want to, so when we were talking to these gardeners, some of these gardeners, they were upset, but they were surprised because they had these gardens for 30 years, 20 to 30 years. And so, they thought it unfair that, we take away one of their garden plots. Well, I think it's unfair to the community that someone can hold on to a garden plot for 20 to 30 years. We are recommending then that there's a 10-year limit on a garden plot. If there is no wait list, then they certainly can reapply and start a new 10-year cycle. But if there's a wait list, I think it's important that we have some turnover built into the system. Gardeners and spouse. So currently on our rules right now, if the gardener, the applicant, is an individual, if they're not able to garden the plot anymore, they don't want to, their family members aren't supposed to and should not, as be a violation of our rules, take over that garden. We would like to change the rules to make it open to the spouse. That if the applicant doesn't want to garden anymore, but their spouse wants to take it over, that's fine, and they would continue whatever part of the lease is remaining for them. Now, the last part, garden instruction, we do want to establish one mandatory meeting. We do want them, and again, they would have to attend this if you want to have a garden lease. We need to work with them to obviously go over the rules, make sure they fully, clearly understand them. But more importantly, we want to obviously every year teach them how to compost correctly and use and dispose of their organic waste correctly. We are going to also recommend that we conduct non-mandatory training for them about how to garden, just generally gardening, how to do it properly, and then suggest to them some gardening pallets. So what you see on our plots, you don't see a lot of produce that for like a garden pallet, how to grow the items appropriate for a salad, how to grow items appropriate for an herb garden. So we're looking at our garden pallets and some training that we would offer voluntarily to the gardeners to maybe help improve their plots. Our recommended action is to approve or modify these revisions, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Before we go to questions, can we listen to the comment?
Absolutely, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
We'd like to bring up now Ms. Rebecca Guillen, who would like to comment on this item. Ms. Guillen?
I'm up here. Good evening, everyone, council, city staff. My name is Rebecca Guillen, and I've been a resident of Paramount my entire life. I'm a trained UC Master Gardener and have over 10 years of experience in gardening, building community gardens, and teaching others how to grow their own food. Years ago, I had requested an application to lease a plot at the community garden on Cortland, but because there were no available plots at the time, I was placed on a waiting list. Sadly, unfortunately, that was over 7 years ago. I'm curious to know how many residents are on the waiting list at this given time. You answered that, 23. I'm happy that the city has established new rules and dividing up the garden plot so that more Paramount residents will have the opportunity to participate in the joy of growing their own food, thus helping them to live a healthier and more sustainable lifestyle, especially considering the cost of food these days. But let's look at how we can continue to foster a thriving gardening community here in Paramount moving forward. While the current agenda item is a good start, I have a few suggestions, if I may, Dave. I would like to ask City Council to consider implementing a garden council, which is made up of both current gardeners and city staff. This garden council would help to build a stronger community at the gardens by assisting in the decision-making process, which affects not only their peers, but the future gardeners in that community. The Garden Council would provide a boots-on-the-ground framework by identifying firsthand and consulting with city staff to assist in providing quick resolutions. In addition, I believe that community gardeners should have to reapply for their plot on an annual basis, which you are incorporating. However, giving current gardeners in good standing, and I have to say in good standing, the first right of refusal to return or not. This will at least give the waitlist residents an opportunity to lease a spot should a space become available, as well as churned gardeners that have difficulty following the garden rules. Also, all gardeners should be required to volunteer 3 hours per quarter on a designated work day to help maintain the communal areas within the garden. All of these suggestions are standard practice in most of the successful community gardens that I have been a part of. Thank you for the opportunity to voice my thoughts and suggestions tonight. And lastly, let's get Paramount growing.
Okay. Do I have any comments from my colleagues?
I just think that they all sound like really good ideas. I don't know anything about gardening, so thank you, Rebecca, and also thank you for your presence at the Eco Fair and the seed bombs that you provided at the Heritage booth. I did just what you said, and I threw it at the freeway out there, and hopes we're going to get some plants there at the 105. Not on the freeway.
Yeah, throwing objects from a moving vehicle on the freeway is a felony.
Anyone else have any questions?
Nope.
Comments?
I have something. I know, that there's people that have been there for a very, very long time, but after speaking to them, how do they feel? Has there been contact with all of them, with a few of them? I'm really curious as to what they're saying. I know that you've said that a few of them were ready to give up that second plot. I don't know why they didn't before. Maybe just they weren't asked. But just how do they feel? Just overall.
Overall, they're very happy with the renovations that were made. And you're right. Some of the gardeners realized that those were very large lots, and they were running into us in terms of enforcement of rules because they were not able to continuously plant it. So this actually makes it easier. And again, a lot of our gardeners are elderly. And so this actually, nobody likes to lose anything. But at the end of the day, they go, this kind of makes sense.
I have a comment. I did visit the community garden about a week and a half ago, David. I am a gardener, and I love gardening. I seen about 14 plots empty, David, when I visited, and I was real impressed. I felt that there was a few of them that needed maybe to be cleaned up and get the weeds taken care of and things, but the most of them were being gardened. And yes, there was one plot that had a lot of cactus, but how do Vice Mayor Aguayo said, how do they feel about if they had that plot for 30 years and they've been gardening faithfully every year and growing good crops? Do they feel they want to give it up, David, or do they feel like they're being imposed, or what kind of feedback did you get from the residents that have been there for about 30 years, like you mentioned?
The ones that had it that long, unfortunately, developed an attitude that it belonged to their family. It does not. And so, to be honest, sometimes they would bring in their very elderly parent who obviously could not garden the plot and have them sign the application because they were allowing the members of the family to do that. And again, I agree with Rebecca again. I mean, we need to turn this over to folks that can honestly garden it and follow our rules and actively garden it to the fullest extent. Because when you visited the garden, you saw there's some spots where they're really not maximizing the use of those spaces. And that's why we'd like to encourage them to give them some additional training, how to grow certain plant palettes that will be beneficial to their homes. Again, a simple one is a salad garden. And you just didn't see a lot of that type of growth there. So that's what we'd like to encourage them to do, because this will really benefit their families.
And if I may add, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't we have certain cases where the example that you gave where the kids would bring in the elderly person to sign the waiver? The kids didn't even live in Paramount.
So Dad may have lived in Paramount, but the kids did not.
And so we have, as you all know, Council, we have very limited space, very limited land on which we can put a community garden. We can't even put them underneath the Edison Towers anymore. They don't allow it on their property. So we have to be very selective and very, very careful about making sure that whatever resources we have go to Paramount residents, not people that live outside of our town.
Yes, thank you.
Madam Mayor, just quickly, hey, is there a thought possibly maybe doing a crop swap there at the community garden?
We can do a crop swap anywhere.
All right, you hear that?
We are looking, again, we've driven around the community and we see so many fruit trees that are unharvested. So we're looking at an option of working with a group that will reach out directly to the community where they can find them growing these kind of fruit trees and find a way to actually assist them to get these fruit off their trees, and then do a crop swap that would be really more open to the community, and it would just be tables of various fruits that we're getting off people's trees.
Right.
But yeah, having it at the garden would be great.
Yeah,
that too. Yeah, the last crop swap, the lemons were like this big. I was like, what is that? It was huge. Those are grown here in Paramount. Yeah, it was huge.
Are you sure that wasn't a grapefruit?
No, it was a lemon.
That was on my list, to have a crop swap at the location. But I was really impressed. I would have loved to see a little more herb gardens growing, and like you said, maybe a salad growing. But I was still, it was very nice. It was, so far it's been very well kept, and I was very impressed. And I love to garden, and some of the ideas that Rebecca brought up, I think hopefully we can bring them forward. That would be great. Thank you for your report, David. May I have a motion for approval?
So moved. Lemons. Second, Aguayo.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Guillen?
Yes.
Councilmember Lemons?
Yes.
Councilmember Olmos?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Aguayo?
Yes.
Mayor Quer Stallings?
Yes. Excellent. Okay, let's move on to the next item. Approval for agreement for business license compliance with operation management services. May we have a report, John?
Yes, Madam Mayor. We're constantly looking for ways to run our organization more efficiently and to serve the public much better. This includes being more accessible to the public outside of just our normal operating business hours, and also using technology to its greatest potential. So using this approach, we found a function within our organization that, if changed, we can offer better access to and service to our business community. And this is through our business license administration. So with that, I'll turn it over to our Assistant City Manager, Mr. Andrew Villalpando, who will tell you more about that and what we plan to do. Andrew?
Thanks, John. Good evening again, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. The City of Paramount requires all businesses performing any service or transaction to obtain a business operating license before conducting business in the city. This requirement applies to every business. This includes one-person, home-based businesses. This is an important aspect of conducting business in the City of Paramount. We administer approximately 3,000 active business license accounts each year. Most of them are renewed. Business license generate approximately $530,000 a year in revenue. So, needless to say, this is an important aspect of conducting business. The city's business license program is administered by the finance department. administration is mostly manual in that fielding inquiries requires a manual process. We only do in-person right now applications and renewals. You can do it by phone or by mail, but that does require a paper application for you, or again, you'd be in touch with someone over the phone and they would fill it out for you. So it's all very manual, outdated way of processing. If you visit any other city hall, it's likely that they already have some sort of advanced way to process, a much more convenient and easier accessible way to apply or renew for your business license. Another important aspect of the business license program, which often goes overlooked, is the compliance and enforcement component. Although that sounds heavy-handed, it is an important way to ensure that businesses continue to be compliant and are good actors in the city. And although we strive for 100% compliance in this area, it's just simply unfeasible with the current resources and staffing that we have in the city, especially a city our size. And then touching on a little bit of getting back up to speed after COVID, as you know, during COVID, we did relax our business license application and enforcement. We did offer businesses relief from the COVID-19 by just, again, easing enforcement and relaxing some of those important aspects of business licenses. But as we opened up the economy and as we try to get back to full speed, this is an important task for us to try to the next year and 2 years from now to try to ramp back up and get full compliance and try to get as many businesses out there up to speed with the business license process. And then lastly, it is certainly challenging. We are seeing more businesses that are primarily speak a language other than English and other than Spanish. So we are seeing a more diverse language-based business demographic out there. So as staff look for favorable solutions, we are looking at different solutions that cities are offering these days. I'll bring your attention to just one particular firm that caught our attention and something that we've been really looking into. So the city has contracted with a company called HDL for many years, and they provide us management services for our property tax and sales and use tax revenues. Some general services include online applications and renewals of business licenses. Also, they provide their clientele with premier customer service through telephone, online, and chat. They do also offer in-person business license processing, and this is done in conjunction with city staff. They offer compliance and enforcement management, payment processing, and collection services. So as we looked a little bit further into their services, we did ask them for a quote and an estimate and what they proposed. This is just a list of some of the things that they offer in detail. They offer business license support for registration, renewal payments, and offer service with general questions in over a dozen languages. Online, telephone, email, fax, and of course, as I mentioned, in person with staff collaborating in this effort at City Hall. They also offer that really important aspect of compliance management, which essentially is a full service program to go out with their own staff that they provide to go out to businesses and basically do door knocks to try to get compliance with business licenses and ensure everyone is compliant. As you know, the City of Paramount has the Paramount Way. We try to be very collaborative with our businesses. So in doing that, we also want to ensure that whichever consultant we do bring on board to help us with business licenses does collaborate with the city from the very beginning at the city's full discretion. And this means that if we do need to, if another, let's say, unprecedented emergency occurs and we need to offer some sort of relief to our businesses, they would work with us and we would have full direction on how we conduct enforcement and compliance of our business license process. They also offer an enriched data portfolio, which offers a listing of businesses subjected to taxation in the city. They also will help staff identify which businesses are incompliant or need to be incompliant. And then I mentioned the field crews that they have that with advanced tools that they can go out and conduct surveys and ensure compliance in the commercial areas. Here's an abbreviated list of the current HDL clients who take advantage of their business license services. As you'll notice, these are just from the local LA OC area, but they do have over 40 cities that they do service for business licenses in the LA OC area. So the estimate that HDL had quoted the city is $101,000 per year, and this is broken down into an actual expense and then revenues that they'll collect, which together compile $101,000 a year. And this is broken down by they do charge $16 processing fee per each account, so that equates to about $48,000 a year. And then for the enforcement and compliance services, they would just simply take 10% of the revenue collected, which amounts to approximately $53,000 a year. So that's how you get the $101,000. We did set aside a prorated amount for the remainder of FY22 if we were to move forward with this, which we will be recommending, and we will appropriate the $101,000 in the FY23 budget. The proposed agreement with HDL for these services will not displace or affect any active positions. We did have a position primarily handling the day-to-day for business license services. That person was recently promoted to a vacant position, and now that person in that position will be overseeing the contract with HDL if approved this evening. And then pursuant to the municipal code, professional services such as this contract are exempt from competitive bidding so long as the city council approves contracts over $40,000. I rattled off a lot of benefits, or I should say, I implied a lot of benefits as the presentation went on, but more specifically, we do expect that the services would improve efficiency to our business license and operations. It would expand convenience and the modernization by offering online options. It would enhance customer service through technology and resources, stream account management, and we are expected that it would increase revenues and enable the city to enforce a prudent business license compliance program. And with that, it's recommended that the City Council approve the agreement with HDL companies to provide the city with business license compliance and operations management services. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
My colleagues have any questions?
I have questions, Madam Mayor. So I believe the revenue was $550,000. Is that what it was right now?
Yes, $530,000.
And this is looking to cost about $101,000. Are you expecting the additional collections to outpace that? Or are we going to end up losing revenue? Have you done any kind of, comparison on that to where we know? Are we going to lose money initially, or long term? We're going to break even? What?
I don't think we would. We're estimating that revenues generally will increase just from the ability to, from the enforcement and compliance component. Right now, revenues in general, I mean, there are two different line items. You have the expense of actually operating the software and the service, but the revenues we do think would outpace the expense. We do think
you
that.
are expecting it to at least bring back the $101,000. You're not expecting it to be a deficit to that line item.
Yeah, I would say, given the history of our business license revenue being at $530,000, the answer is yes.
And then it says in the report that they'll deal with collections. I'm assuming that's people who don't renew or, the past due ones. But what about audits of businesses that never get a business license? Are they going to be out there checking that? Because I know that was always a big issue when I was at the Chamber of Commerce. There were a lot of businesses in town that never took out a business license, therefore they weren't in the system. And so are they going to be auditing the business community? I mean, it's to their benefit. Yeah,
it's a great question. Right now, I'll just give you, for comparison purposes, we don't have a component that can actually do that. We don't have staff that can go out, door knock. They would provide that.
They will do that.
Yes, they will provide actually canvassing staff to do that.
Okay, and then I know also there was always an issue with people when they were getting their business licenses, coordinating with the entities for the inspections, like fire and building and health. And I used to make a lot of calls to the city to help facilitate that. Are they going to handle that?
It'll be a collaborative effort with staff. So what we expect is that there'll be a kickoff meeting right after contract implementation. Well, part of that expectation is for us to describe to them what our current process is, such as making sure that if a business requires any fire inspections or an AQMD inspection or something like that, we would still have all the control in that, and HDL would also ask those questions during the application process and renewal process for that matter. So that would still occur.
Informing them, I understand, but there were a lot of times that it was weeks and weeks out and they weren't getting these other entities to come out. And so I would often have to call and talk to planning and help facilitate that. That's what I'm wondering. So they could call them, or you're going to set this up to where they're still going to call the city and say, hey, I've been waiting 6 weeks. The fire department hasn't come and done their inspection yet.
Yeah, I in that example, council member, we would probably arrange that we have a city staff member still manage that part of it, so that this way we make sure that the contract is being executed expeditiously, that we're not having those long layovers.
So are we going to then have access to their ongoing database of what's going on? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Anyone else?
Yes, I have one question. So this won't have anything to do with like the conditional use permits, correct? The CUPs, completely separate. This is just for the business license?
That's correct. Yeah, they are two different facets.
Okay, so we're still good with our conditional use permit process. And that's what you'll familiarize them with. That one side is a business license, and then in order to, well, wouldn't the conditional use permits come into play though in order to get the business license?
So, John Carver, I think maybe if you can enlighten us on just the process of the sequence of events.
Right. So yes, you would need a conditional for certain businesses that require a conditional use permit. You would need that permit before a business license could be issued.
So that will all be established as part of the process. They need to turn that in order to get the business license.
Correct. That's what I'm hearing. Right.
That's what you're hearing, or is that what
Yes,
it is?
that is.
Yes, that is correct. That is
Step in. That is that part of our process won't change. That is definitely definitive. It's just taking that person that used to coordinate this and giving it to a contractor. So when somebody comes in to apply for a business license, they'll complete the form either online or through our consultant. That application will then go over to planning, and that's where it's caught. And the planning staff will review it and say, oh, this requires a conditional use permit, pause, time out. They'll inform our consultant that hold off on this one. They have to go through a conditional use permit process. That goes off to a different course.
Okay, I guess I just wanted to make sure that there is a check and balance system in place to
Still there. Mm-hmm.
identify that and then handle that separately. Okay, great, thanks.
Any more questions? May I have a motion, please?
So moved. Lemons.
I will second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Guillen?
Yes.
Councilmember Lemons?
Yes.
Councilmember Olmos?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Aguayo?
Yes.
Mayor Claire Stallings?
Yes. We'll move on to the next item. Or report, John?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Our park supervision duties exist to maintain order in our parks, as we know, and to make sure that all park goers can equally enjoy our park amenities, all that we have to all that we have to offer. As we head into late spring and early summer, our park supervision duties even become more and more crucial to this need. At the moment, however, we are being faced with a staffing shortage, which we all hear in the news. It's happening everywhere. And that's particularly hitting this part of our operation. And we do have current vacancies. So we decided to take a step back and rethink this whole function, and would like to approach this duty in a different manner. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dave Johnson, our Community Services Director, who will walk you through this item. Dave?
Thank you, John. Mayor and council members. As John mentioned, we are having some difficulties filling certain part-time assignments within our department. I'm sure other departments and other entities as well. But for us, this is becoming incredibly difficult to fill this program, this park supervision program. So we're having difficulty finding staff that can work these hours, and so to avoid a shutdown of this program, we need to get a little more creative here. So right now we're looking at a temporary solution to get us through this fiscal year and get us through the summer, and then so we can kind of consider this a pilot program. But we also are looking at this as possibly a long-term solution. So we do, when we present our FY23 budget, we'll have a placeholder for funds for this program as well. But right now, my immediate concern is I need to be able to staff this assignment so we can keep providing those park supervision duties. We are aware that the city of Bellflower has done this for a few years now. Some of their park supervision assignments, they were also having trouble getting staff to do it. So they have a contracted model where they're using a local private security company. So just to be aware of what our park soup staff do, they are our primary after hours and weekend customer service point of contact on the parks. They travel to all the parks, and they are the people that enforce and pay attention to what's going on to the park. They enforce our permits. They do, throughout the week, check on our youth leagues, make sure everything's going fine. They're responsible for turning ball field lights on and off. They do close our park restrooms at night. Some cities you'll see, the park restrooms close at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock when Public Works goes home. We keep them open because obviously our parks are open till 8 o'clock. And so our staff has to go around at night and make sure those bathrooms are secured. They do provide, we do have facilities that are controlled access, like Salute Park, our district facilities. So they have to go around and open and close those to allow permitted uses. They are, one of their primary jobs is also when they drive the parks, they are to identify any issues on the park and report that to the appropriate party. A lot of times we report it to Public Works, but primarily we call Public Safety to let them know we see something untoward happening on the park. Our staff is non-intervention. We report. And then we also use them supervision for permitted activities on the parks during weekend hours. As John mentioned, as we get warmer here during the spring and summer comes, that's when our parks become very active with permitted uses for the shelters, for jumpers, and park supervision plays an important role ensuring those are done in compliance with our rules. So what we're looking at here is just to keep council informed how we're addressing this. We have contacted local security firms to see if they can perform the services currently of our park supervision staff. They are able to do that. They do have staff able to conduct this for us. What we're looking at in the current fiscal year to finish off the year is a projected increase of about $8,000. And so we would contract a group to work through the remainder of this fiscal year. And again, with the idea of evaluating that to see if this is something that we would like to keep long term. Our recommendation is that these guards will be unarmed, that we will find ways to identify them as city partners. So there just doesn't say security, but it'll say something on their uniform or their vehicles that they're working in partnership with the city of Paramount. And then obviously as we work with them, we will have to obviously train them on our rules for the parks, our park codes, but more importantly, how our customer service approach works in the city of Paramount. And that's my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anyone have any questions?
I have a comment, actually. I know you said Bellflower does it. I don't know, recently I feel like there's another city that just announced that they're doing this, and I don't want to say Lakewood, but it sounds like, I think it was Lakewood.
And they're doing it, Vice Mayor, they're actually patrolling the streets. I don't know if they go into the parks, but my understanding is they have a grid system. They have 4 private security patrol cars that basically patrol the whole city overnight. So
Malls, yeah.
But they're not doing like enforcement. They notify the police still.
Exactly.
It's almost like a security service patrol.
Exactly. Eyes and ears.
I have one question. So they're going to be there to monitor. Are their radio frequency on the same as the sheriffs in Paramount? So if they are requesting something, they can use the same frequency or frequency compatible, or will they be just dropping a dime off their cell phones?
Actually, I don't know the answer directly to that. My assumption was that they will have the ability to contact the sheriff's department, our office, by cell phone. I don't think it would be radio compatible.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. That's correct. If they needed the assistance of public safety or law enforcement, they would have to communicate via cell phone.
Okay, thank you.
And well, you guys will be making some type of announcement to the community to look out for this type of patrolling. That way, they're so used to seeing our staff at the park. So are we going to be doing some type of announcement that we're going to be having some extra patrolling by this company? That way, our residents are aware.
Yes, we'll do that, and that's also, again, why we want to make sure that their vehicles and/or uniforms
Sure.
have some kind of identification, so it's not just some random security firm that the community
Correct.
doesn't know about.
Right. Okay.
That's a great idea to educate our residents. Okay, so this is just an oral report, correct, John?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now we'll move on to the next item. Okay. So appoint, may I have a report, John? Oh, this is the motion in order to make an appointment to Parks and Recreation Commission?
Yes, Madam Mayor, that is entirely yours.
Oh, okay.
Get to make your first commissioner
Oh,
appointment.
okay, okay. Well, we're going to make an appointment to Parks and Recreation Commission with the approval of City Council to fill the vacant position for the term expiring in July of 2022. And the honor will be to Jennifer Alcarza. Is that correct? Alcaraz. Is she here? Is she present? No? Okay. I thought she would be present. Okay. May I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second, Aguayo.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Guillen?
Yes.
Councilmember Lemons?
Yes.
Councilmember Olmos?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Aguayo?
Yes.
Mayor Quer Stallings?
Yes. Okay. Congratulations, Jennifer. Okay. Now we're moving on to the environmental sustainability new business. For approval of service agreement between the City of Paramount and the Tree People. Will we have a staff report, John?
Yes, Madam Mayor. We all love our trees. We need to manage, however, our huge inventory. Late last year, the council authorized us to submit a grant application to manage urban forests, and we received that grant, $283,000 to be exact. We now need to produce a report, and we want to work with a nonprofit partner to produce this report. So with that, I'll turn over to our Public Works Director, Ms. Adriana Figueroa, who will handle this item. Adriana?
Thank you, John. Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, as John has indicated, late last year, Council authorized the submittal of a grant application to the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, also known as CAL FIRE, for the development of the city's first Urban Forest Management Plan, or UFMP for short. The application was submitted in partnership with Tree People, an environmental nonprofit organization with the city as a lead agency. And as John indicated, we're happy to report that we were successful in obtaining that grant in the amount of $283,490.94 to be exact. The development of our urban forest management plan allows the city to evaluate and manage its existing tree inventory while also focus on its expansion. It will also help alleviate the heat island effect caused by the higher frequency of extreme heat days caused by climate change. This, of course, aligns with the city's climate action plan, Measure GA1, titled Support Urban Tree Planting, Park Access, and Green Infrastructure. Those outlined strategies include increasing the number of trees in the city and conducting outreach to spread awareness of the benefits associated with planting shade trees. The grant acknowledged the partnership between the city and Tree People for the implementation of the Urban Forest Management Plan, or UFMP, over a period of up to 4 years. The project will include potential recommendations for updates to city policies that relate to urban forestry in order to guarantee urban forest management continuity. After the UFMP is completed, the grant will provide for a community tree planting program with a 3-year care period. Tree planting sites and species will be guided by the plan. This project will also include an allocation for fruit tree giveaways that can be made available in conjunction with the city's eco-friendly fair. To reiterate, the main goal of the UFMP is to increase citywide tree canopy cover in order to maximize urban cooling, healthy air quality, and stormwater mitigation, while also enhancing the aesthetics of our community. Tree People's estimate to complete this work is $250,490.94. West Coast Arborist, the city's street maintenance contractor, will be overseeing the tree inventory update portion of the grant, as it is an intricate part of the UFMP program. The work performed by West Coast Arborists is estimated to cost $32,207.20 and will be funded by the grant. With that, it is recommended that the City Council approve an agreement with Tree People in the amount of $250,490.94 for management of the Urban Forest Management Plan program and authorize the mayor or her designee to execute the agreement. That concludes my presentation, but I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions?
Ma'am. Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Is there any estimate about how much they can grow? You know, the tree planting program, like do they have any kind of plan, like we're going to plant 100, 200, 50? Is there something?
Yes, they do. I'm trying to remember. I believe it was 200 trees and 100 fruit trees. I could be mistaken, but I can provide that information in the Friday memo.
Thank you. Anyone else, please? Do we have a motion,
Move
please?
approval. Lemons. Second, Aguayo.
Roll call, please, Heidi.
Councilmember Guillen?
Yes.
Councilmember Lemons?
Yes.
Councilmember Olmos?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Aguayo?
Yes.
Mayor Quer Stallings?
Yes. We'll move on to the next item. Award of a contract. We have a staff report, John, please.
Yes, Adriana Figueroa, our Public Works Director, will handle the item.
Thank you, John. Madam Mayor, members of the council, staff is frequently looking for projects tailored to climate resiliency as we continue to implement climate adaptation strategies outlined in our recently adopted Climate Action Plan. See if this works. Measure EE3, titled Improve Efficiency of Municipal Operations and Public Infrastructure, outlines strategies which include conducting assessments of municipal buildings and performing building retrofits and upgrades. Towards this end, we included in the fiscal year 22 budget funding for the retrofit of interior lighting at City Hall to LED to further our climate action plan goals. This project includes the complete retrofit of over 300 lighting fixtures. Bids for this project were open on April 14th. 3 bids were received. However, Remy Construction withdrew their bid given discrepancies with their calculations on their end. Once that bid was removed, the next apparent low bid was submitted by Juniors Construction, Inc. in the amount of $97,668.37. This amount is above the budgeted amount of $65,000 and will be adjusted during the final budget process. Bids range from $97,668 to $140,550. And funding for this project comes from the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, also known as ARPA. With that, it is recommended that the City Council award the contract for the City Hall LED retrofit lighting to Juniors Construction, Inc. in the amount of $97,668.37 and authorize the mayor or her designee to execute the agreement. That concludes my presentation, but I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? No? We have a motion, please?
Motion to approve.
Second, Lemons.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Guillen?
Yes.
Councilmember Lemons?
Yes.
Councilmember Olmos?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Aguayo?
Yes.
Mayor Quer Stallings?
Yes. Now we'll have comments from council members. Ms. Gillen?
Okie dokie, sure. First, I just want to, before I forget, wish everybody a happy Mother's Day coming up to all the moms out there, and a special acknowledgement to my own mother, who is 90. So I just want to say that if you still have your mom, make sure you take the time to really appreciate and show them some love. Sometimes when our elderly parents get old and we're taking care of them, you forget how lucky you are to have them. So just a reminder. I also attended the Veterans Fair in Whittier that was sponsored by Supervisor Janice Hahn. It was a veterans affair in conjunction with the Long Beach VA, and they had a special conversation about veterans with Parkinson's disease. Currently, there are 110,000 veterans that have Parkinson's, And a lot of the things that they're exposed to while they're serving our country, ultimately they get Parkinson's. Like I said, there's 110. There was a very dynamic doctor that spoke about it, who just happened to be my daughter. And it was very enlightful, inspiring. And once again, I just want to invite anybody. I know we have a lot of walkers in Paramount. On June 5th, there's a Parkinson's walk, and there's a lot of teams that are walking in various parts of the county and Orange County. So get walking, and if you're interested, let me know and I can put you on a walk. So with that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Brenda Olmos, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a couple things, and I'll make it very quick. I have some committee reports I'd like to report out on. Last week, myself, as the mayor and vice mayor, we were able to attend Contract City's LA County Advocacy Day. Tons of speakers, speakers like, our District Attorney Gascon was there, Sheriff Villanueva, Dean Logan talking about the upcoming election, Supervisor Barger was there, LA County Fire. So there was just a lot of departments coming to give us some updates on what's happening in LA County. And then the event ended with a sheriff candidate forum where we had about 6 sheriffs show up. They talked about their visions and experiences and vote for them. So it was quite interesting to kind of see their visions and kind of hear what they have for a future candidate for sheriff. I also attended the League of California's, I sit on the Environmental Quality Policy Committee. It was a 3-hour meeting that we discussed a lot of things that are coming on ballots that may affect our cities or not. And I know one of the biggest ones was the state of the drought update. And I know, Adriana, you have discussed that, what's coming up for us or the city, what do we need to prepare for? They also talked about the California Recycling and Plastic Pollution Reduction Act of 2020 when it comes to straws and cups. What are we going to be doing at that? So there's a lot of conversation looking at what ways the league will be either opposing or taking a position on these. I just want a couple announcements. The Paramount Historical Society will have a ribbon cutting ceremony on May 17th, 12 o'clock at the Hay Tree. So we invite all residents and members of the Historical Society to please join us right next door. The mayor and I also attended the Cooking Up Challenge event by Northgate. This was a really cute event. They had about 4 students from Paramount High that actually cooked a dish, and we were all able to try it in the audience. Our students from Paramount High actually won the award. It was the Audience Award. And I just want to give a shout out to the students. It was Karina Vasquez, Jocelyn Villalobos, Eric Calaverio, and Edwin Martinez. And their theme was it like the princess? It was like a princess theme, but it was like a chicken wrapped tortilla with a salad. And I mean, it was just really good. And they did win a prize. So kudos to them. Congratulations. I also just want to give a special thanks out to Councilmember Eddie De La Riva from the city of Maywood, who did supply us with 2 truckloads full of food that was delivered to Chapel of Change, Lifegate, and New Commandment Baptist Church that would be given out to the community. I also just want to say Happy Mother's Day and also Happy Teachers Appreciation Week. And thank you to all the teachers for all you guys do for our students in Paramount. That's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Councilmember Peggy Lemons, please.
I hate following her.
I'm boring.
You make me look so lazy. So I went to the Despierta Mujeres conference, and the topic was women in evolution. And it was just really great to be there with everybody. And this is an organization that I went to their first conference, and it was 10 women. And now they have attendance of 250, people, 150, 250. At one point they had 300 when it was over at Paramount Park. And so just coming out of COVID and be able to get that kind of attendance was great. And they sure made their purple, which is their color, look so beautiful in our newly remodeled Progress Plaza. And I think, they all felt like queens that day because the room was beautiful and they decorated it beautifully. Also, just let everybody know that there's another women's empowerment tea that the Paramount Chamber is putting on May 21st, if you want to attend that. And I too want to say Happy Mother's Day to everybody out there, and along with Council Member again, and a lot of us. I did lose my mother a couple of years ago. There's no replacing a mom. And so take every minute that you have with them and appreciate those very special moments, even those aggravating moments you're going to miss. So I love you, Mom. And thank you guys for the flowers. They're absolutely gorgeous.
Okay, thank you. Vice Mayor Aguayo, please.
Okay. I have almost nothing compared to what you guys have had. I've been busy with finals, but that's done. So, but I was actually able to attend advocacy days as well. And yeah, it was one day. It felt like it was so much information, and one after the other, just speakers and presenters. And I think the end of the day, to have 6 out of the 8 candidates for sheriff, I think it spoke a lot about contract cities that they were able to get all of them there, and it was interesting, but it was good to hear their points of view and what their vision is, and is great questions from Councilmember Olmos. So I have that, and I'm actually leaving tomorrow after our ad hoc meeting to SCAG conference. I'm going to be filling in for Councilmember Gillen this time. And happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. Okay. Well, Vice Mayor Aguayo and I attended the comedian night or comedy night, and it was a lot of fun. We had several residents, so it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. And I also attended the Business Women's Luncheon there were students from Paramount High School and Pius X High School. I was glad to see them. They were interacting with us, and I was very happy to see them. And thank you, Brenda, for being there and also being present with the Pius X students. Thank you. Thank you for inviting them. And also attended the conference with these beautiful ladies, and it was a lot of fun and a lot of very important information. And like Councilmember almost said, we attended the Paramount High School culinary presentation they did at Northgate, and it was great. It was food from different high schools, and our kids did very well. I was very happy to see them smiling. They embraced Councilmember Olmos and I with, oh my God, they were so excited that we were there, and we were representing their city, and we were there to help them celebrate. And a shout out to their instructor, Juliet Bell. And I attended Saturday the Latina Arts Foundation photograph walk, and other projects that they had were occurring. I took my oldest granddaughter, Alyssa, and she did not want to leave. She was having so much fun, making badges and just doing quite a few different things, painting on the canvases. So she was very pleased that she went. And this week we have our National Day of Prayer at 12 o'clock at City Hall at 12 Thursday. Please attend if you can. We have the Mother's Day Senior Luncheon from 10 to 12. We have the Friday night market. I'm just giving you reminders. And I just want to relate to my colleagues and to the community. I was invited to be interviewed by Spectrum One. The title is The Power of Mom. I don't know if a lot of you know, but I was a teenage mom. I was 16 years old, got married, and had a child. And I'm grateful to God that I had my mom to support me. It wasn't a happy time, but by the grace of God, I had a supportive mom and a supportive dad. And I did get married. I was very young. And my husband went off during the Vietnam War, and I stayed home. And I ended up finishing my junior year.
at Grove High School and then went back to Paramount High School. But thank God that I had my mom. My mom took care of my daughter on my senior year. She says, I'll give you this year for you to accomplish and get your high school diploma. You screw up one time, these were my mom's, she goes, I'll hand you back your child, and then you continue your path. But I will ever, ever be so grateful to my mom that sacrificed one whole year, well, actually a year and a half of her life to take care of my child. And that's the product of my daughter, Lisa. And I just want to shout out to all of you that you need to watch The Power of a Mom. It's going to be on Spectrum 1 on May 7th. I talk a little bit about my life experiences. There's also 2 other ladies that will be speaking. Assembly Member Burke and a mayor from Eastville. She will also be talking about her life. But really, I take it to heart that if you still have your mom, and like Council Member Peggy Lemon said, your mom is irreplaceable. And I know I gave my mom some heartache, but I rewarded her with my granddaughter, my daughter and my other daughter. And my mom, and I miss her tremendously. She's irreplaceable. And to this day, I still love my mom. So anyway, I want to do a shout out to all mothers from our Paramount City. Happy Mother's Day. And last, happy Teachers Appreciation Day. I've worked with teachers. They work hard, and they give 110% to our kids. And lastly, thank you to the teachers that teach my granddaughters, Alyssa and Ashley. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to our planning department for receiving a recognition. Thank you to our public works for getting a recognition. You all work hard. Parks and Recreation, Finance, all of you work very hard for our city and our residents. A shout out to all of you, and have a great evening. Now we will recess to the assessor agency, correct, John?
Actually, Madam Mayor, we do have comments from staff. I just have a few.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll be brief. That's okay. As Councilmember Lemons has mentioned, it's hard to follow Councilmember Almost. Well,
Stop.
it's hard for me to follow what was just said about moms. So that was very touching. Thank you. I do have a few staff announcements. And first off, as you heard earlier this evening, our finance supervisor, Ms. Margarita Gutierrez, had retired after long years for the city of Paramount. I'm happy to report her successor. She's in the audience with us tonight, Ms. Erica Aguirre. Erica, go ahead and stand up. Erica has been an employee with the city for 17 years, so we love to hire from within when that opportunity presents it to us, and she's a perfect example of that. She was initially hired as a finance assistant, where she processed accounts payable, receivable, and also did some payroll. Later, she was transferred to the customer service counter, and that was 11 years ago. And she was responsible for processing things like animal licensing, water billing, and also business licenses, which you approved the contract with. Recently, as I mentioned, she was promoted to a finance supervisor after the retirement of Margarita Gutierrez. Erica was raised in Paramount. She went to Paramount High School. She has 2 daughters, Victoria and Natalia, and also two brothers who are Paramount High School graduates. Her mom is still a Paramount resident, and together with her father, she says they are her number one cheerleader in supporting her in her promotion. And she enjoys going to the beach and road trips with her family. Erica, congratulations again to you. And also one more staff announcement. Our public safety director, our former public safety director, Adriana Lopez retired, as you know, in January. And filling in for her at the time was Miss Maggie Matson. as the interim public safety director. And I'm happy to announce that Maggie is no longer interim, she is permanent. So congratulations to you, Maggie. And getting back over to business, I know this has always been, or has been over the last few years, a big deal for the council, and that's street racing. We did have an incident that occurred on Jackson and Downey over the weekend, and usually the street racing intersection takeovers don't happen in that intersection. So we did receive calls on that, and obviously, as I said, it's one of the council's #1 priorities. So I'm going to ask the lieutenant to come up and just give a review of what happened in this particular instance. And this is just once again an example of how effective the citations are that the council approved, the increase in the citations. So come on up, LT, and please provide the council with an update on that particular incident that occurred.
Madam Mayor, City Council, everyone, good evening. We did have an incident on Saturday. It was in the area of Downey and Jackson. It occurred at approximately 12:36 a.m. The incident actually, the vehicles, there was a couple intersection takeovers in the city of Compton. And Compton and Gibson at approximately 20 minutes prior at 12:14 a.m. Deputies heard activity in the city of Compton just west of the 710 freeway. They confirmed that with California Highway Patrol, and one of our deputies was actually flagged down regarding an incident where an LA County fire captain was assaulted. One of our deputies took a report, and they remained in the area based on the activity. And 20 to 25 minutes later, over 30 vehicles were called in regarding blocking the street and doing burnouts at Downey Avenue and Jackson Street. We had a total of 8 units that responded, including a field sergeant. Briefly, as far as response times, the call was generated at 00:38 hours, 12:38 a.m. First unit went en route, and within 3 minutes was there at 12:41. After that, additional units responded and were there within 12:42, 12:44, and 12:45. We also had additional units that responded from City of Bellflower to assist. During this time, the vehicles, it took a little while for them to disperse. We did use additional resources, and we did have our aero overhead, which assisted our units in recovering some of these individuals that were leaving. There was a total of 5 spectator sites that were given and 3 vehicles that were towed. There was also a prior incident at the 6400 block of Alondra, close to Home Depot. During that incident, there was also a pocket bike that was towed, and there was also another spectator site. So for the night, there was a total of 6 admin sites that were given and 4 tows. Unfortunately, because of the incidents that happened in the city of Compton, using department resources, it appeared that the hundreds of the vehicles that were there dispersed, some on the 710 freeway, north, some south, and the other ones ended up in the residential areas of the city of Paramount. CHP, like I stated earlier, they were in the area. Unfortunately, at that point in time, they were unable to assist us here regarding our incident. That night, that was the only incident for city of Paramount. We had some in neighboring cities in Bellflower, Lakewood, where they also had multiple vehicles doing donuts at those locations. Like Mr. Moreno stated, as far as the citations since the resolution, where the fine was raised to $2,000, there's been 17 citations given, and out of those 17, only one's been a Paramount resident. That'd be 34,000 in fines total. Since the beginning of the year, we have over 40 cites given for the year for these spectator citations. That's significantly more than we did all of last year. We're going to continue combating this issue, obviously, and I believe it's clear to our residents. If not, I mean, these statistics, our deputies are trying to do their job out there. We continue using the resources we have. We're working with surrounding agencies, and specifically CHP. We're using them as a source. And based on what I see here, looking at the calls for service we get and deputies' response times, I think deputies are doing a good job on that end as well. I'll field any questions anybody may have.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And lastly, just a happy Mother's Day to all 5 of you.
Thank you.
Now we'll recess to the assessor's agency. Go ahead. I'll take it. Now we'll call to order the accessory agency for the Paramount Redevelopment Agency on May 3rd, 2022 to order. Roll call council members, please.
Councilmember Guillen.
Here.
Councilmember Lemons.
Here.
Councilmember Olmos.
Here.
Vice Mayor Aguayo.
Here.
Mayor Quer Stallings.
Here. Any public comments?
No, ma'am.
May I have a approval for the consent calendar?
So move, Lemons.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Guillen.
Yes.
Councilmember Lemons.
Yes.
Councilmember Olmos.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Aguayo.
Yes.
Mayor Quer Stallings.
Yes. We'll adjourn to our meeting June 7th, 2022 at 6 o'clock. Now we go to custodial.
So
Now we have the closed session.
yes, Madam Mayor, and if you could read into the record, or if you like, I could.
Go ahead.
Okay. We are now going to go into closed sessions conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. This is city representatives are Andrew Villalpando and Irma Moisa. The employee organization is Teamsters.
Monday? Yeah. I'm sorry. Almost 9, ideal.
Yes, they're on. So we're on? Okay, we're ready.
Madam Mayor, you've returned from closed session. At this time, there is no reportable action.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, we're all done, Madam.
We're all done. So we adjourn our meeting to May 17th, 2022 at 5 o'clock.